Hello YouTube and welcome to the channel. Now then, today's video is going to be concerning unboxing and brief review of this. It's MN Model's latest offering, the MN86K. The K is a kit, and this is basically a 1/12 scale kit of, as far as I can tell, a Mercedes G-Wagon. It comes in two versions. I've opted for the K. I think the other one's like a KS or a KR or something, and it comes with a few other bits and pieces and gubbins for the body shell. There might even be some tricker bits in there, I don't know. But anyway, we've got the 86K, so that's what we're going to be taking a look at. So without further ado, let's get it open and have a look what we've got inside. Now, as ever, with MN stuff, seems to be fairly well packaged. I'll give them that. Get a nice sturdy box. Oh, it's upside down. So anyway, inside we have some packaging, user manual and assembly instructions, I'm presuming, some stickers, some Union jacks there, not quite sure how they fit in, but what looks to be a fairly comprehensive looking manual. Let's see what else we've got. This is quite a heavy bag, so I'm presuming there's going to be some metal componentry in here, possibly some gears, motor. We'll open some of these bags up in a minute and have a look, see what we've got. Another bag. This looks to be bits of bodywork. I can see some exhausts in there. 4 wheels and tyres. They look like 12mm hexes. The camera probably can't pick it up, but they look like 12mm hexes, so that's good. So you've got a wide choice of wheels. Oh, now this bag is heavy, so I think this one's got the motor and some of the metal parts in. But like I say, what we'll do is I'll tear open some of these bags in a minute and we'll see what the actual quality of the parts is like. And last but not least, I'll say almost last but not least, we've got the G-Wagon body. I must admit, I'm not a massive fan of it. So you're probably asking, why did you buy it? I bought it mainly to review for the channel. But wouldn't it be great if they produced, I would love to see like an old two-door Range Rover body for this. That'd be absolutely fantastic. If you could sort that out at MN for me, that'd be brilliant. A pair of metal chassis rails. And what looks to be some glass for the body, and these look as though they're all bodywork bits and pieces like wipers and indicator lenses. So what we'll do, I will have a quick flick through the book and I will pick a couple of bits to assemble and we'll see what the quality is like. Now then, I've opened what I presume is the transmission or powertrain bag, because it's got the main reduction gearbox in it and this little transfer box and the motor. First impressions, all the shafts are metal in the gearbox. They're running on little copper bushings. I know it's not ball bearings, but at least it's not like nylon bushes, which wouldn't last 5 minutes. All the gears look fairly nice quality. They're all plastic, of course. Well, there will be at this point. Looks to be some sort of slipper mechanism, possibly. That spring there on that shaft. I have noticed the fact that you might be able to get different gearing options for this. I don't know if you can tell there, because the motor actually adjusts slightly to accommodate for slightly different pinion gears. We've got a little cooling fan as well in the bag, and I mean, it should have some reasonable power in it. I mean, you've got a 325 turn 390 motor, which is nice. So like I say, the first bag I've opened, everything seems quite good quality for the price, to be honest. Let's have a look at something else. Well, this is the next bag I've opened up, which contains componentry for the axles and the steering. I've got a long, I presume this is the rear, for the rear axle, this long metal drive shaft. And we've got these this ring gear and this pinion gear. Now these do look almost, I'm going to have a look in a minute, see what they're like, but especially this ring gear looks identical to a WL Toys one. So whether they're not or not the same, I don't know. But it does look very, very familiar to me. But they're all metal. I've got a little bag of little bronze bushings for the various shafts. Like I say, at least they're not nylon ones. We've got metal drive cups and metal drive shafts. We've got a servo in this bag. Looks to be of a reasonable size. I think it's the same as a WL Toys C44, C34 by the looks of things. You could probably, I mean, it's a 3-wire one, so if you wanted to upgrade it to a better one, you probably could at some point. One thing I have noticed is that the drive shafts are plastic. They're absolutely enormous. They're like WPL ones on steroids. They are. They're huge, and the steering cups as well. Steering hubs, I should say. That's what we'll do anyway. I will actually try and assemble one of the axles to see what the fit and finish is like. So I'll get the various components ready, and then we'll have a look at building a part of this kit. Okay, we're going to attempt to build the rear axle. Now, one thing I have noticed is, and anyone with a WL Toys 144001 or 124019 etc. will probably recognise these diff boxes, because I'm sure they're the same. That pinion gear is definitely the same. Sure it is. Anyway, well, that's probably should come as no surprise, because they probably get all the parts for all these little Chinese RCs. They're all probably off the shelf. Anyway, I digress. On with the build. So the first thing we have to do, it looks like on the picture, is push this little 3mm diameter pin through the drive shaft. Push that on till it clips in there. Then we've got our little box that fits over. Push that on. Okay. Ring gear. Oh gosh, that was tight fit. That's not a bad thing really. Goes there. Get some screws for that in a minute. And then we've got two bushings, two little copper bushings that go either side. I'll find the screws for this lot and bolt it up. So eventually I've managed to get the pinion gear screwed onto the diff box. That was a little bit fiddly, I must admit. And the screws that you need, they ended up being in the only bag that wasn't labelled up. So that was interesting. But anyway, I digress, we move on. And I've also taken the liberty of screwing this little shaft onto this pinion gear. It doesn't say anything about using a bit of thread lock, but I've used a bit of thread lock on that centre pin there just to secure it. Now the back of the axle has these two plain bushings in, and the pinion gear basically just sits in there, and it does actually revolve or rotate quite freely. And the sort of diff, well, it's not really a diff, but the gear assembly just sits in there. Now it makes me wonder actually if they're not going to produce one with differentials, because this, like I say, I'm sure this looks like a WL Toys differential. So I wonder if at some point they're going to have the same sort of setup as a WL Toys, where you've actually got a diff in instead of a solid axle, if you like. But what we'll do now is we'll add a little bit of grease onto the gear, like so. Give it a quick whiz round. Now the other half of the axle body fits over the top like that, and then these bits go on this sort of orientation. That's it, one either end. Now then, they do have a plain bushing in the end as well, so just get one of these out of the bag, push it on. Okay, as you can see, there's a little bush in the end. What I'll do now is I'll get the cover bolted on and screw everything else on, and we'll see what it's like, see how free it is. Okay, well that's the rear axle assembled, and despite the fact that I've put it together, it does rotate pretty free. So it does seem reasonable quality. I mean, there's a few marks and bits of flash on the plastic, but nothing major. It doesn't seems pretty reasonable quality actually. So what I think we'll do is we'll take a look at one more thing and then wrap it up. I thought, seeing as we were here, I'd have a quick look at the tyres, and they feel a nice soft compliant compound. Obviously they've got the 12mm hex, so at some later date, if you wanted some different wheels, it should be a fairly straightforward business to replace them. Okay, let's move on to the body, see what we think. Now annoyingly, I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but there are some deep scratches in some of the glass portions inside the body, so that's a bit annoying really. And they extend onto the windscreen as well, so whether this one's had a bit of an accident at some point, I don't know. Also, the metallic flake in the paint seems to have clumped in certain areas, so it's not brilliant, but again, it's not a very expensive kit, this isn't, and I suppose if you were to buy a hard body like this, they can be quite expensive, so I think we'll forgive him that. I mean, it comes with stuff like the tailgate, and obviously the doors and a few other bits and pieces. Now obviously the bodywork contains all the holes for the various ancillaries and accessories that go on the body, and the bodies obviously being the same for the K and the upgraded version. They're basically the same apart from the colour, and I have heard that obviously the holes are all the same, so when you assemble the K, you are left with holes in the bodywork where the other extraneous accessories should go. So bear that in mind when purchasing. By the time you've fitted all the bits and pieces, you'll still have holes in the bodywork where the other bits and pieces that go on the upgraded model should be. But apart from that, the bodywork, I mean, the body does look quite smart. I'm not a massive fan of the G-Wagon, but it's, I think, still a good representation, like most MNs, a good representation of what it's supposed to be. Okay, conclusion time. What do we think about MN's latest offering, the 86K? Well, first impressions are it's not half bad at all. It's not a lot of money to spend, and what you do get is quite comprehensive. Obviously, you've got the electronics and the radio gear on top of that, because it's a kit and you don't get those. But even when you've accounted for that, it still isn't a lot of money, and there are a lot of kits out there, same size, 3 or 4 times the price, easy. So I think they're on to a winner. I'd like to see a couple of different bodies available for it. I think that'd be nice, and I'm almost betting that we'll see a ready to run very soon as well. Wouldn't be surprised if they release that. But I would heartily recommend, if anyone's after like a 1/12 kit crawler that they want to build themselves, I think you could do a lot worse. I mean, there are a lot of metal bits and pieces in it. It seems reasonable quality. I mean, the axle that are built up is nice and smooth, so that only bodes well for the rest of the gear, I think. So would I recommend the MN models, MN86K? Absolutely yes. I think, like I say, I think they're on to a winner. Anyway, if you've enjoyed the video and you found it of interest and use, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're feeling that way inclined, hit the subscribe button at the bottom. It makes a massive difference to creating content for you guys. Thanks for watching, and catch you later.